Welcome to this collaboration with Indy and Dr. times Sikhing. And I'm Indy, he's Doctor. We've done this before. So if you want to check out the first episode, go and look in the description and come back. But we're going to go through some more dating and more relationship and marriage talk.
I think we're mature bande hain, theek hai? We're experienced bande. We're going to give you...
You've had a baby since last time.
That is very true.
That is very
I forgot
true.
about that.
That is very
I have lots of insights for you all today. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. I hope it serves as a starting point, right? To have meaningful conversation. And I actually always enjoy doing this. Well, the formats that we do, I love doing this type of thing. This is really, really relevant and stuff we just don't, as a community, as a culture, we don't talk about enough.
Well, we're here to talk about exactly that, aren't we?
Absolutely.
So, we've had questions submitted to us by our followers. We've had questions submitted to us via Sikhing as well. So we're going to go through them. Should you hold out for the perfect person, or should you just get on with it and make the best of things?
I love this question because we saw Chris Williamson a few days ago, and one of the things that he said was this idea of inaction versus taking action and then kind of just, dealing with the consequences. It's better to make a decision and then adapt it as you go along. So in the same way, I don't think anyone's perfect. That's number one. I don't think when you meet somebody, you're perfect. When I met Shindy, I wasn't perfect. I'm not going to say she was perfect. So my kind of view and take on this is, there's obviously got to be a vibe, right? And the vibe being big picture, is there alignment in terms of your values, your long-term, what you want from life? So have that discussion. What will a good life be for us or for you, right? That encompasses many things. How does the week to week look like? But how much finance do we need?
You're also assuming with that somebody knows exactly what they want.
True. And it will evolve. No, it will evolve and change. But there has to, if somebody says to me, I don't know, I haven't thought about it, then that is an issue for me. Go in, you have to have something that you've thought about. I want somebody who's a little bit aligned. Otherwise, what am I banging the horse on? So there has to be some potential. That's all I'm going to say. If there's potential alignment, I think it's probably good enough that actually over time, you work this stuff out.
I think you're thinking from a lady perspective there, because ladies tend to have their life much more together than guys do, stereotypically. It is partially true, though. Okay. So in this situation, it more tends to be guys saying, I'm just seeing how it's going, or trying to figure it out. And then a woman will have their perspective firmly locked in because they're probably thinking, okay, I need to have certain things done by a certain time if I want to have kids.
Which is why I said big picture. I didn't mean this is the job I want to be doing in 10 years. That's too specific. I just mean, okay, well, I want to live in the UK. I think, I want to maybe have 2 kids and I want to have a part-time working in the future. So just big picture, what's important to you in life? That's where values come from, right? And I think you should have that discussion. I don't think the perfect partner exists.
Ooh.
I don't think that exists.
Okay. Why is that? I
think because you're both constantly evolving. There is no definition of perfect, and you're based on the experiences you have, you will mold each other and you'll become Shindy and I talk about this.
Like Bane.
Yeah, okay, like Bane. I think about the Shindy and Karan who met in university now, and they feel like characters. If I walked up to that version of Karan, like Shindy says, it was it's just a whole different thing, man. My thought process, what was important to me, it's all changed. And now it's changed again because here comes along my daughter. So just at various points in life, you just look back and you think, okay, but you were the best version of yourself then. And you always, I think, I can't remember what's his name, the actor, Green Lights guy.
Matthew McConaughey.
Right. He says the guy who inspires you, my hero is me in 10 years. And then it's that person in 10 years. And he talks about that concept where it's just focus on evolution naturally. Not like mutants, not like X-Men. Focus on it naturally. And I think that's about the interplay. What do you think?
So you should hold out for the perfect person or no? No. Okay. For me, I think there's numerous partners you can match with. I remember you said this to me recently.
Last night. Is there the one?
Yeah. And you said there's...
Marvel.
You gave the Marvel analogy.
Let me do the hands, yeah? Let me do the hands.
Of all the...
So that's the timeline, right? So this is Sanj, this timeline, right? And if I go...
If you take one little bit out, it goes about a different direction.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my life is pivoted around going to university. If I didn't go to university, I wouldn't have done 90% of the things I'm doing right now, because all of my friendships, relationships, meeting...
podcasts, nothing?
I met everybody through that opportunity. But if I didn't do that, who's my perfect person in that scenario where you're dating a very different indie with different experiences? So it just depends on the situation that's available to you. Now, if you're older and you're struggling to meet somebody, then your idea of a perfect person is evaporating quite quickly, because you're thinking, okay, I want to meet somebody. So you kind of start not compromising, but you start broadening your horizons a little bit, saying, oh, okay, it's not a big deal if, say, they're vegetarian and I eat meat, for example. That tends to be a big deal for some people, but they might drop that over time.
Again, evolution. I guess the other side to this also, though, that I do tell my younger friends that if you have external pressure to be in a relationship or get married or have a child, whatever the external pressure is, but specifically when getting with somebody, the other side to, not waiting for the one or the perfect person is don't settle either. Settling for me is
settling's all based on your perception of what you think settling is.
No, but okay, let me reframe that then. So if somebody is telling you to settle is different to you deciding to actually, no, this is okay.
No one ever says that, no? No one ever says
no, they're like,
settle.
They don't say it, but that's what they're saying. No, Vyah kar la. Theek hai, it's good enough. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Right? It's like, it's your time now. Vyah kar la. That's not good. I'm saying, yeah, you're right. If you have decided in your mind, this person, enough potential, I see something, yeah, that's fine. That's on you. I'm saying when it comes from somebody else, though.
That's different, though. Listen to other people. It's more so on yourself. Like, you seeing that person and thinking, am I holding out for somebody better? The concept of nowadays dating online with a lot of people that I know who are younger is like, oh, but I feel like I can do better. Or I feel like I can meet somebody better.
It's interesting.
And if you keep chasing that dragon, you're never going to find it.
And then you have to ask the question, what is the definition of better, right? Like, because it might be this completely unattainable, artificial thing you've created, which you think exists. So, for example, like some ladies will say, banda, 6 foot hona chahiye, £100,000 or millionaire, drive a certain
car. Typical things you say on
live not with the in-laws. Like just, and fine, that banda, that archetype may exist, but it might be one in, and maybe they're all taken already. So it's just, what are you waiting for? And the same for bande looking for ladies.
At what point in your relationship do you actively start discussing managing finances? What are your tips for learning, for managing? What are your tips
learnings
for managing finances in a relationship?
You start? So when did you start?
I think finances are a big part of all your relationship and understanding how you're going to split that in the future. If you guys have an agreement on what you think is, okay, this is our money to go together and mix on bills, mortgage, food costs each month.
So you're talking now about this?
I'm talking about living and being together.
Yeah, shared expenses.
So let's say in this hypothetical scenario, you have moved out, you're in your own space, you're not at home with the parents. Because you can give that example, I'm going from mine. Yeah. So mine is pay for your own mortgage. So we split our incomes to go towards the mortgage, go towards bills, go towards the food shop, go towards subscriptions, like things we both use. Then you have your own money.
Okay.
And then you save off that own money, you save a portion of it towards your savings. That's a way that works well. But what point should you start discussing it? I'd say pretty early. Because a lot of people do argue about finances and money later on. And if your finances and money habits are not transparent, then people will not know what they're walking into. And that can create a lot of instability in a relationship.
Instability, insecurity, doubt, shock. Where's what you're doing with your money?
Resentment.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the key words you said there was transparency. We have a similar system to you, which is our shared costs go from a joint account.
We just write everything down in a spreadsheet.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. I read, Dan Martell, like business person. He had this chapter in his book where it said, run your family like a business. As I read that, and I read the title, and I was like, that's a bit odd. And then I actually read what he meant, and he was just saying that how if your finances were in a company, you would be efficient with it. You won't waste money. So why do you waste money when in your own house? And so he had his perspective about how couples should do it. And yeah, just be systemized, have a spreadsheet, be accountable, full transparency. Because then there were big things like buying a good deal or God or whatever. Then you will need to pull and decide and agree on
things. You really have to be careful with how much you're left over with at the end of each month.
Absolutely. And that is something that couples, this is another thing I said to my younger friends, whether they're male or female. It's, look, if you have decided in your mind you want a certain lifestyle, okay, I don't want to work. I want to work 1 day a week. I want to travel 12 times a year. Whatever the lifestyle you want is, then that requires a certain level of income, right? So you need to be honest. A, do you have the capacity to bring that to the table? Or B, you need to be looking for that in a partner.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that is important. That people, maybe it's a British thing, we have this taboo about talking about money, but actually early on when you are dating, I think it's a good thing to talk about what's your understanding of money, how do you value money, what is success to you? Like, have those discussions, not just about big picture life and relationships and dynamics, family dynamics, but also talk about finance. Do not leave it and think. I think what a lot of people think is they think it will just work itself out and they ignore it and they just just run on autopilot.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, and it isn't unless you get very intentional about this is the life I want, this is the income we have, what can we do, how can we make our lives better? It doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen.
In the future.
You know, it's funny, right? Yeah. This is how different my thinking was. When I met Shindy, I thought, this was early on, that part of impressing Shindy was trying to act like I had a lot of money, which I didn't. And basically, I used to just live off my overdraft.
Oh, yeah.
So I used to keep taking it to mailbox and all these restaurants with no real money. And because, you know, being chivalrous, I was like, I'll pay for everything. It's fine, no problem. And I'm just there just racking up his overdraft and then going to mummy, like, you know, I'll apply soap on his day. And I'm like, mummy, clear kar do na. And then, but now we talk about it, right? Because now Shindy's like, well, that's not why I liked you. But it's funny that you thought that's what you had to do. And again, that's that version of Karan that
at the time and say, oh God.
No, oh God, but that was me based on the thinking, whatever I had. That was my modus operandi at that point.
Mm.
And now life experience, wisdom, spending time with somebody, I understand what you value now. It's not that at all. So,
should your partner have access to your mobile phone and passwords?
I guess the way I'd answer this is, because obviously with iPhones or whatever, most people are set up on the second face recognition, whatever, and all the things. Like, Shindy knows mine, I know hers. But do I actually really have a reason to look at her stuff? Outside of, oh, Shindy, I need to access this app, which is on your phone, or the pin's been sent to you, I need to get in there to open this thing. Outside of that, I don't really, like, and even if we do, like, if Shindy and I use our phones, it's never, once you've done that primary thing you've gone there to do, yeah, exactly. You don't linger. You don't go into WhatsApp and start reading your conversations and, you know, stuff like that. And I guess a lot of that comes from A, there has to be trust, and B, it's this idea of protecting your privacy. So for example, you and I have we have a group chat with Shindy and Sanj, but then you and I have our own chat. I have a chat with Sanj. I don't know if you have your own chat with Shindy.
Yeah, I do occasionally.
Right? So like, but at no point is she going to look at my messages that I'm sending you.
No.
Because she'll be like, well, that's between you and him. Like,
yeah.
You know? So should you have access? Yes. But should you actually do anything with that access? I don't think so. And if you do, then there's clearly a level of insecurity that potentially could be there.
I would think it is. Yeah.
As in, why would you want to look?
But also the opposite to that question is, why wouldn't you want to give it?
Yeah, exactly.
And that to me would feel like a bit of secrecy. And if you start doing that, you start planting seeds of doubt. For me, she's known my password ever since day one, because I can't be bothered to sit there and be like, oh, my password is this, and this. By the way, can you just get this one thing? Oh, you can't do that because I've got my password. Just take it and do it.
Yeah.
And sort it out.
Much easier.
It just makes life so much easier. Plus, I've got nothing to hide. And if anybody's sitting there thinking, oh, I do have lots to hide, what is that exactly? Like, is there anything on your phone that you're uncomfortable with your partner seeing? That's what the real question is.
That is the real question.
And if it's like a lads group chat, I understand. That can get out of hand sometimes. But then you say, it wasn't me, it was them. That's fair.
Is that your party line?
I mean, I'm not into raunchy group chats, but I've seen some guys that are, and I'm like, okay, I understand why maybe you might not want your partner to kind of do. Is it okay if your partner has friends of the opposite sex? Yes.
Great question.
Absolutely essential.
Great question. Absolutely essential. It's okay.
Essential.
Okay.
I think it's essential.
Run with that.
Because if you're only able to speak to one gender, your life becomes very one-dimensional. And if you're not able to sort of interact with the opposite sex on a friendly level, on a professional level, on different levels, you're kind of setting yourself up for problems in the future. So let's say, for argument's sake, you date a lady who's only got lady friends.
Yeah.
When you're all going to like a night out with other friends of yours from university or whatever, they're going to have potentially female partners or male partners.
Yep.
So you're going to want to have to speak to them on a cordial basis, get to know them, maybe develop further friendships off that. So I think it's important to do that, but also it teaches you to respect the opposite sex in the right way as well. Because some people do see women, unfortunately, as like a tool for just sex, which isn't right. And you shouldn't see them as that. You should just see them as people first and then get to know them on a normal level. And there's certain things you can say to a guy that you can't say to a woman.
You're correct, yeah.
So you have to kind of understand where the levels of those are naturally when you start meeting somebody for the first time. And those barriers will change depending on banter or whatever with their personality.
Correct.
But you have to enter that engagement or conversation on a very solid level.
I guess the other part of this question is sort of asking is more the jealousy element from, say, the husband. So it's basically Sanj or Shindy having male friends, right? From our perspective, how do we see it? Now, one thing I found is good is Shindy having a soundboard who is a man when she wants to complain or maybe talk about stuff that I've done, okay,
Right.
is actually really useful because obviously she can sample with other ladies, my sister or whatever, other like female friends, her sister and stuff. That's one perspective, but it still tends to be the female perspective. Whereas when she soundboards with another dude, or maybe, do you think Karan is thinking this, and this, and that actually it tends to just mellow out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's a great thing. And in the same way, I have female lady friends.
Lady friends.
That thing sounds right, doesn't it? I have friends who are women. That's probably the best way to say it. And Shindy knows, like I've like old school friends. Sandy's obviously one of them. I got friends from Canada, and I think I don't think that as long as you're secure in your relationship, and most of the friends that I have, lady friends, are also friends with Shindy. There are some who are not as, and there's some of her guy friends that are really like no, but there's trust. So I think it's for the reasons that you've said, absolutely, and for the reasons of not harboring jealousy from you as the partner, I think, absolutely fine.
Also, if your partner's able to get with the opposite sex and you spend time with those couples, you can spend more time with your best friend, potentially, if they get on with your best friend as well.
Yeah. I guess the extension of that question is, so the friend's fine, but from a male perspective, do women go out with male friends on their ones?
Yeah, probably. If that situation occurred, I'd be like, can I meet the guy beforehand at least? Like, just to get to know them on a level. That to me would be like a
screening.
Yeah, no, not even a screening thing. It's just, if it's a colleague from work, that's different.
Yeah, that's
right. Because it's like, okay, after work, you've all gone out, or linger behind, and you're left with whoever's there.
Yeah.
But if it's a friend that I've not met before, I'm like, can I meet them for the first time just to see what they're like as a person? So when you talk to me about them, I know what they're like.
Yeah, there's a reference point.
Or there's a reference point instead of just this imaginary Instagram picture, right? So, yeah.
And it works the other way as well.
Yeah.
Do you have lady friends?
Yeah, loads.
Yeah. Like you can meet up on when you're ones or whatever.
So all of my big core friendship group from university, say half of them are female. No, majority of them are female.
Okay.
Yeah. This one's quite funny. Why do men forget important things and only remember minor occasions?
Do you know what the end of that was? So the end of that bit was, this is a real question. It's our 11-year anniversary and he's forgotten, right? So Sanders and I looked at this and we were like, okay, so we can look at, the bigger question here is how men and women think about affection, right?
Different ways.
So I think about my mom and dad in this, and my dad's like, well, do you want someone who's functional day to day, runs the house well, provides, takes the bins out, like does all that, like Seva, let's call it Seva, right? So it's functional love, I call it.
Acts of service.
Acts of service, yeah. The 5 languages of love, it's the acts of service versus what some people, and maybe it is old school Punjabi Jen, who see the shosha of Valentine's Day, the ki karna si, why do you need 12 roses and go for a meal and da-da-da-da-da. That's one side of it.
I actually agree with that. I think Valentine's Day is
I know how you feel about it, yeah. And I guess the other side to that is, though, with certain occasions, like, for example, Shindy and I have 2 anniversaries. We have the wedding anniversary, but then we have the anniversary when we actually got together. The anniversary...
The problem was it was 4 days apart. So we're like,
4 days apart.
Sunset that and just go to this one, yeah.
Well, ours is a lot apart.
Yeah.
So we celebrate when we actually got together. That's meaningful to us. And the actual wedding anniversary, it's not that important to us. That's fine.
Wedding anniversary is important.
No.
It's so interesting.
Yeah. But like, both of us, it's not like Shindy's like, oh my God, and I'm just like, it's not that important.
You're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about the major things, only the minor things, yeah.
So it depends on that. But I guess the good thing about these types of occasions is that sometimes you don't have a good reason. You won't find the time otherwise to think and remember and reminisce. I can see the point they're trying to make. But ultimately, I still want, from my partner, I want a functional partner. I don't want a partner who's good 2-3 times a year.
You're speaking right now genuinely as a guy.
We have
to think of all these little things we have to solve.
No, but I'm saying I want that from my partner as well.
Yeah.
So from Shindy, I want that. Yeah.
But you want that from Shindy, but this question was submitted by a female, saying, why did we forget that?
Yeah.
I think you're giving the answer here, which is you're thinking functionality, not thinking major occasions or showing signs of affection or showing signs of like.
But is that not
big
affection?
shosha?
Yeah, big shosha. Exactly, that's separate.
Depending on some people.
It depends on your definition of affection.
But I do feel like forgetting your 11-year wedding anniversary is not shosha. That should be like, oh, I remember.
Yeah, if wedding anniversaries in that relationship are important, like I said, in ours it's not, then yeah, fine. The other, all right, let me balance the argument. The other balance, the side of the languages love is, there is a certain way you want to be loved, and there is a certain way your partner wants to be loved. Sometimes they're the same, most of the time they're not. Understanding how your partner wants to be loved and showing affection is important, so you don't end up just reciprocating and mirroring what you want. I like acts of service.
Yeah, same.
She only happens to as well. But then my second one, I think, is quality time, and I think the second one is physical touch. So then I can just show her the way I want to show her, or I can be like, okay, you value this. Might not be the way I want to do it. And I think that's where men actually do have, and the book Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus is very, very good at exploring this whole concept, which is focusing on what the other wants and how they want to receive it.
Yeah. When it comes to forgetting important things, as you said, important to you, but minor occasions, what's a minor occasion to you?
Yeah, good.
So, for example, if a minor occasion is, oh, we haven't got milk and I've gone out and got it and I've come back and you haven't had a thought about it, instead of just letting that bubble away and then you have a problem with that, you're thinking ahead.
I've just thought of something else.
But the thinking ahead of the proactivity doesn't get seen.
Oh, this is the point I was going to make. So Indy, guys, has this brilliant thing, which is about, because I used to say this to him, I was like, why do you keep announcing the things that you've done? Like, do you want credit? Like, what is this? Should I just get on with it, do it, right?
Okay.
And he's like, no. But if I change the batteries or something, and Sanjay didn't know the batteries need changing, I don't get credit. I was like, but why do you need the credit? Because I need to build up this bank, right? Because she's going to attack me at some point. And I'm like,
no. It isn't attack me at some point. It is simply, whenever someone says to me, you don't do anything, I was like, well, actually, I did this.
But you didn't know.
I didn't tell you I did that because I don't feel like I need to. But now you're saying this, I feel like I need to. So I don't say for credit. I'm like, no, I'm showing you that I'm actually doing stuff to like be useful.
How do you drop in comments? Do you like, by the way, I'll get that. What's it? Do you send her a newsletter? Weekly newsletter?
Tasks done.
I
I actually don't think about it that deeply.
Yeah.
It's like at the end of the day, we'll have like a recap on how our day's gone.
Yeah.
Like how you been, what you done. I'm like, oh, I did like all this stuff.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, yeah, cool. That's it. I don't be like, done. I'm like, hello, I've made you food now. Do you want to come and eat it now? It's like, no, isn't that? It's just things are done and you see it at the end of the day. And I'm like, yeah, that was sorted.
And what you want, and this is from both the male and the female perspective, is as the person doing the act of service, it's not that you want the pat on the back or the clapping.
Yeah.
You just want the acknowledgement and appreciation.
Yes.
That's it. And both ways.
Yeah.
I think that's important in a healthy relationship.
Also, a bit of generalization. Why do men forget important things? There are some guys that forget the very small things, but are really good at the big things. It just depends on who you're with. And if you're the person thinking like that, try and explain to them why it's important to you and it might not be to them, and they hopefully will get it in a non-confrontational way when things are less heated.
And have a joint calendar, like operate Google Calendar, make sure one person operates it.
Send a reminder, anniversary. Remind 1 week before, 1 day before.
SMS message.
What are your thoughts on people choosing to not have kids? I'll go first.
Yes, go on. This is interesting.
I think not everybody should have kids just for the sake of having kids.
Interesting. Explore that.
Because there are some people that don't have it. They don't have it in them.
Don't have what?
They don't have the maternal or paternal gene.
Which means what?
Where they're comfortable around kids, so they're able to kind of handle a lot of things in flux at once.
Are you saying they don't have the emotional capacity to do the journey?
If you don't feel, in my opinion, if you don't feel something from other nieces, nephews, or kids you see around, I would think by a certain age, you haven't got it. Obviously, if you're like 20 years old and you're around a kid, you're like, okay, there's vomits a lot of me, I don't get it. But then over time, like, actually, I see them grow up and you start being like, oh, that's actually a really nice journey that I see. We don't see the screaming nights at 3 a.m., but it is like it looks like a nice journey. And you're like, okay, I want that in the future. And one thing Sanj said to me recently was, I'm going to ask all of my friends that have had kids and family, why did you have kids?
Good question.
And what people tend to say, it's selfish reason.
Okay.
Whereas like, I wanted to have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not an answer.
That's seven whys. Yeah.
Why you want it, it's what does it give you that's outside beyond that? Are you doing it for happiness, which is selfish again?
So, yeah.
Technically.
Purpose. I think for a lot of people, it's purpose. Yeah.
Having kids shouldn't give you purpose. There should be other things that give you purpose. You don't make a life to have purpose.
You don't make a life. Oh, you mean make a baby.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So there's other reasons for why you should have a kid that people I don't feel like explore. And me and Sandra are still exploring this topic now of like, but why?
Yeah.
And we're not doubting that we don't want kids. We do.
But the why?
But we're trying to think, what's the reason why we're doing this?
You're saying, do for the right reasons. You're saying that a lot of people are operating on this default setting, which is, I'm of a certain age, we've been married, I have kids. Like, that's the thing to do, right? Which in itself, I don't mind.
God, and some people don't have it. Some people really don't have, and it's heartbreaking when you see it.
Yeah, no, that's that point. I'm thinking more about, so the people I've had conversations with don't want to have kids are not necessarily people I don't think who could cope and they'll be fine with it. It's, my life is this good. I've optimized it. I have freedom. I have money and freedom. Something I didn't have when I was younger, and I have health. And I just want to go. Like, so, there are other people who obviously very career oriented and want to go. And there's some people who just don't want to lose that flexibility. Having a child, your life does go on pause.
Yeah.
And obviously different priorities take over, and you have to be okay with that. Because if you're not okay with that, there's resentment and there's FOMO, and it's just like, oh, could be doing this, oh, I don't get to go out, whatever. You're right. You have to emotionally, financially, you have to be ready, because it is a big responsibility. To answer your
concept of people saying that you're never ready to have kids.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
I buy it.
Yeah, I don't buy it. And I told you this yesterday. And the reason I didn't buy it was because when Shindy and I, and this is the other thing, like there's a whole separate topic though, more to do with actually trying to have a baby. When you decide as a couple, it's not that simple, right? And we've done a whole topic about IVF and all that kind of stuff. So just because you decide doesn't mean the baby's going to come along. But for us, so we were 6-7 years in marriage. And I think some people looking at it were like, oh, they can't have a baby, or they've been trying for a long time. But genuinely the reason, I remember a conversation, we're on holiday, Mum's birthday, Athens. My dad's there and he's trying to bring up the conversation. Kenny's there as well, brother-in-law. And he's like, so do you want kids or like? just
there's no like soft.
No. And I was like, Dad, it's all in hand.
Yeah.
So this is like October time, and then by March, Shindy's pregnant. But it was at that point, he knew.
It was a trifecta. My father had a certain word with me, yes.
It was at that point though, but we were like, career-wise, I know the things I want to do, right? And then the things I want to take deep into my life, the legacy I want to build. I've got those projects. The stuff I wanted to try that hasn't worked. That's gone now. So I have no FOMO. That's the first thing. Shindy and I have done a lot of exploring, a lot of holidays. We've done a lot of that. We're going to continue that in a different way.
Great. So you got married early in life. And
well, did I?
You got married early, which is good for you. I got married a few years later, but then the circumstances of me moving into the property that me and Sanj were living in was not suitable for a kid.
Absolutely.
So therefore, when you say you don't feel like you're ready, I physically wasn't ready. The flat was as big as this room.
That's what I mean.
Right?
That's exactly what I mean. And that's fine. I'm saying
you don't buy it.
No.
Circumstantial.
No. What I'm saying is, the quote is, you'll never be ready. That's different to saying I'm not ready now. You're not ready now. You got the house, you've changed your jobs, whatever. It's different. Yep. I'm saying at that point, we were like, no, emotionally, I'm ready to put things on pause, still maintain a podcast, and go for it. And now, now life is, the biggest thing I can say to people who are on this side, pre-baby, and then are like, what's it going to feel like is, specifically as a man, you may have reasons you want to do things in life. You want to kill it, smash it, hustle, all this stuff. As soon as that child comes, the anchoring of, I know why I do things now, is phenomenal. And this pressure that you have on yourself that I need to be this, whatever, really goes, because you're transcended by, this is everything now. And everything is, geared that way. And it is a very beautiful thing. But the conversation, coming back to the question, the conversation I've had is people do not want to give up the freedom. They've got to this optimized point in their life and they just want to live. And do you know what? Fair play. Like, I think an older version of me, in various questions, would be like, well, that's not normal. That'll be my default response. Whereas now it's like, I want to explore why you think like that. And they'll be like, fair.
Okay, the other flip of that is people are having kids less and less now.
Oh, here's geography degree. Come on, let's go.
Demographic stats are showing that the UK's population is shrinking significantly at the time.
Yeah.
So when people say, what are your thoughts of people choosing to not have kids? Some probably have done the maths and thought, I can't afford a kid in the life.
Now this is a big point, man. So let's put the bachchan that came from India, right?
Bachchan that came from India.
Yeah. From I don't know if it came from a Kaltak Sahib, but it came from India, and it was Sikhs should be having at least 5 bachche.
Who said this?
Yeah. No. They were saying it from the point of we need to be a strong, calm.
Who said this?
I can't remember. Kenny told me, but it was a Dastaars or it was something official, like how things came out about the wedding langa. No, but again, you're thinking that's not like possible. They're saying
it's possible. It's not sustainable.
Yeah. But again, that they're talking from a generation of like my granddad had 9 brothers and sisters.
Yeah. That's different. Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Like I talk to people now, people who are you consider professionals, well off, 2 doctors. They're like, man, beyond 2 kids, you can't afford it, man.
Yeah.
It's not doable if you want the lifestyle. Like one of my friends had a 3rd, but he said to his missus who wanted a 3rd, like, we can have the 3rd, but you're not going on these holidays. It's like
we're not going anywhere.
But you need to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Right? Or we can have 2. It's the same goodie. We don't have to go to the bigger goodie, right?
You can fit 5 in a car. Managed to fit 5 in a car. They did.
Well, legally, yeah.
But they never stayed anywhere overnight. That's the thing. It was like day trips.
That's such a fun point. Yeah, you never stayed anywhere.
No.
You can come back 3 o'clock in the morning, but you never stayed.
You never stayed anywhere. You go straight home.
Scotland.
Because we got, oh my God, day trips in Scotland was actually a thing. But you couldn't fit all the detti on the back of everybody's stuff, right?
Oh, God.
Or if you did, it was like 1 backpack each. That's it.
Yeah, but that is a big thing, man. Financial consideration of how, like, this stuff
can afford.
Like nurseries, they cost money, like all this stuff. There was kharcha.
Interesting, tough topic, man. Garden, when does marriage become boring?
I think there was a presupposition in the question, though.
No, it wasn't. It was just that.
No, I'm saying the presupposition there is that marriage does become boring. So we stand for that.
Right, okay, yeah. My marriage has been a roller coaster, so I can't comment on it being boring. It's never a dull day. I say this in the podcast all the time. My wife is one of the most entertaining people I've ever met. She's just unintentionally funny.
She is.
And I don't laugh at her like in that way, but she is very funny and entertaining to be around. So it's never a dull day. However, if you're in I think the killer word is routine. And that word comes when you have kids, which is I'm doing the routine of looking after the kids, of getting them to bed, of going to sleep, of cooking the food, and then getting up and doing it all again the next day. And that word can actually make it boring. Because if anybody does the same thing every day, all the time, you're going to get bored of it unless you vary it a little bit. But you don't want to vary your kids' routine. So you put your life and marriage on hold and then you kind of drift away. And I've spoken to family, friends, etc., that have been years deep in marriage. And they're like, we're kind of drifting away because we're not spending time with each other when we did in the early days because we are so committed to looking after the kids. And then our relationship spark has gone a little bit and it's seen as boring and you have to rebuild that. And that's really difficult to hear. I hope that doesn't happen to me and Sandra in the future, but it's a potential.
Yeah, and I'd definitely say in the early days, it's
fun.
It's no. I mean, early days of having a baby, it's unavoidable.
Oh, right.
It's completely
early days of marriage.
It's completely necessary. You know, you do have to commit the time and be in routine and be in sync with each other. Both parties need to pick up whatever you're both doing. I think, but the other thing here to unpack is, most relationships will have the honeymoon phase, right? Where it's like that you're just on ecstasy and everything's great. I'm in love with you and this is perfect. With anything in life, you will habituate. Everything you get used to. Okay? The way I see Sanj is not the way you see Sanj. You live with her. I see her for little bits and I'm like, my God, she's so cool. For example, right? Whereas you could be like, yeah, but you can see context. In the same way you see Shindy, right? Or Shindy sees you,
or like
whatever.
If people meet us in the street, they're like, oh, the other guys from Instagram, and I'm like, I'm just a normal guy. Yeah. Or if they look at me and say, you know you're just a normal guy, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm very aware of that. Right?
Yeah, so yes, I think we should be realistic about marriage is a relationship, or even pre-marriage, there is a relationship, and there will be elements which are not going to be like that, and there will be low points as well, and there will be those kind of stagnant periods. But absolutely, like you said, it's how do you find the ways you connect, change, and evolve in the relationship. That's the thing. The things we used to do to have fun, some of the things we still do, and some things are now like, okay, we actually find fun doing this together now. Like, I don't know, if they come to sleep, we might catch up putting the washing out. And
you're making a good point here, which is together, doing things together.
The mundane stuff, right? Yeah.
Not even the mundane, just any activity together. Because if you do it together, it doesn't become boring.
And that's a very Shindy thing. Because sometimes I've realized where I can quite easily do something on my own and not feel the need for Shindy's presence to feel validated.
Just a lone wolf, yes.
No, but like iPad on or podcast in. Whereas I know for Shindy, it's not that I can help with the task physically, but sometimes it's just me being there. And it's just because then it feels like we are in each other's vicinity and spending time or whatever and catching up. So I get that. You're right. Sometimes it's just doing things together, even if it is the boring stuff. But yeah, but don't have this expectation that every day is just you're on holiday mode. That's not realistic because nothing gets done and you can't maintain it. Yeah. But you don't want undulation. You just want that, and you have spikes which are really good, and you will have spikes which are really bad. You will have fights and blowouts. That's all part of it as well. It would be a sad situation if you didn't have confrontation or disagreement, and because I think that is the marker for indifferent. You just don't care about it.
Why do Asian men expect to be spoon-fed like a child?
This is one of my big bugbears. And I'll give you the example. I have multiple friends who cannot tie a tie, or they'll tie the tie and the length is here, and I'm like, bro,
what, school tie? Like the school?
Yeah, and
at school how they told you to tie a tie, and you had to like this long. Like I've done the tie. Yeah,
the size of the knot is wrong. The top button is not done up. It's like a lot of what I talk about, and this is where sometimes I had this one guy say to me, he's like, bro, and this wasn't a compliment, but I know he meant it like a compliment. He's like, you're like the Punjabi Andrew Tate. I'm like, no, that's not it.
Who the hell said that?
Yeah. This guy said to me, I was like coaching him. I was like, bro, I know what you're trying to say. It's not that, bro. As in, I am a big... Yeah.
Oh my days.
I'm an advocate that men should be men, right? And by that I mean, when you're growing up, right, you're in a household. Say, I think it's very good if you have a sister, there is no difference in the way you are treated by your parents, number one, your ability to do things. So when you then go into a mature relationship, that you're not expecting of your girlfriend or wife or fiance or whatever to basically be your second mom. This is what we see, right? And what's then annoying is if you then say you end up living with the in-laws, your wife sees the dynamic between your mom, her sus, and you, and you're just little Nyana, who just doesn't do any of his washing, doesn't do anything, just comes home. Like this is a real story. I have a friend, right? And so his wife told me this. I'm friends.
Can you just clarify one thing?
Go on.
When you say I have a friend, it's never me.
This no.
Okay. Thank God. Thank God. Hi. Okay, cool. I'm just saying it for the listener's purpose and for my own validation.
Yeah,
sorry, continue, please.
I have a friend, male friend. He's my primary friend. Okay. His wife, secondary friend, but I'm very close to that person as well.
He's a tertiary friend.
Huh?
He's a tertiary.
There's no tertiary here. There's a primary and secondary. There's no tertiary. Yeah. I'm the tertiary here. And she said to me, she was like, so they got married, both what I'd consider like, moderate progressive thinkers living with the in-laws at that point. She goes, he comes home and he'll just go to the couch and just put the TV on, puts his phone on charge. He's like, that's it.
Full mortgage.
And she's like, I come home, both professionals. Okay. I mean, like similar level in what they do, jobs. And I'm expected to do this, and this. And he goes, you won't do anything. And they've had this conversation, things have changed. But it's like to him, that was his norm pre-marriage, right? And now it's a whole different entity. So that's why I say men should be focused on being men.
What does that mean though, Karan?
So, okay, from my definition, that means you are able to be autonomous in the way you operate, be equitable in what you do with your partner. Doesn't mean doing exactly the same things. I know you and Sanj have that. You can both do whatever you do. Me and Cindy are more like, I do things I'm good at, you do things you're good at, but together we work as a whole, right? But rather than, like, in this same example, she would say to me like, yeah, I change the light bulbs in like the bedroom or something. Like, he doesn't know how to do it. Like, fine, I'm not DIY, but I would arrange for a banda to do it. She's like, he doesn't even do that. Like, and that's what I'm saying. And that comes from, and then I thought, well, where does that come from? Well, then it comes from, and I don't think a lot of the ladies will think it's the sus doing it. I think it's a responsibility of the father. The mother can love the son in a certain way. Fine. And I don't think that changes that relationship between the son and the mother. But there's some point as you get older where the dad has to start teaching you, look, you need to be able to do these things.
Yeah, but a lot of the time from the older gen, it was traditional roles, whereas like the mum spends the most amount of time at home with the kids. So the FaceTime with mum is naturally you're going to be not sheltered, but treated in a different way compared to how your dad would treat you. So there's levels to it. And over time, trying to break out of that mold is difficult. Like I've been told when I go to my mum's in Birmingham.
When you go to your mum's, yeah.
No, and Sandra's there too. And she says there's certain things you do that you don't do at the house and you just let it happen.
So you come home.
So when I go home to my mum's and Sandra's with me, she'll say there's certain things that your mum do that you don't do at home. for example, I'll let my mum cook us a bunch of food and I won't help because she doesn't want me to help, even though I've tried in the past, and she gets very defensive about it.
Do you mean helping in the cooking part, or like you want to take your bande?
Cooking part, but sometimes the bande thing as well, because I'm like, look, it's mum's system, how she wants to do it, that's fine. But the difference is when mum comes to my house in London, I don't let her do too much at all. Like, I'll do all the cleaning up, doing things, etc.
Your responsibility.
Because that's my place.
Yeah.
So it's trying to reciprocate the same thing. And I know that mum gets a kick out of making us food because she feels like that's her way of showing love and looking after us. Or she'll make us a batch to take food back down to London. But there's certain things where, like, I'll let mum just pick up the dishes. She's like, can you at least do that? I'm like, okay, fine. I'll change that and pick up and do it.
So I'm just saying that, you think?
Yeah. Because that's something that I've just become accustomed to over time. So it's like, all right, I can tweak that one thing, or she'll point a couple of things out to me. I'm like, fine.
I can tweak that one thing.
No, I can tweak a couple of things.
That one thing.
It just depends on what they are, right? Or like there's old clothes that I wear in Birmingham and I'll leave it there. And she said, well, why don't you wash it? I said, because mum's system of washing is different to mine. If I throw it in the machine and leave it there, it's going to throw things out of kilter for her.
Fair.
So there's certain ways of how you do it that makes it look like I'm being rude, but I'm not. And when it comes to the whole being spoon-fed like a child, this hasn't happened to me, but there are some parents that just haven't let go of their son growing up. They're treating them the same of how they were when they were children.
That's a really...
And they haven't let them grow into this different person. They've just kind of tried to look after them and protect them all the time.
And they don't respect. So my mum said this.
And they don't respect a secondary person.
The wife, right? Like, my mum says this to me. She's like, I still love you exactly the same. But I realize you have a wife now. We all live together. And so I don't want to be that kind of like attached, like inappropriate mother. And I'll give you a real example. There was a people we know in India, right? We knew the lady, got married, moved to the in-laws somewhere else in India, living with the in-laws. No lie. So in India, the house is really big. So she's got an ensuite in her bedroom, right? She's gone to the bathroom, come back to the bed where she's going to sleep. In the bed, in the middle of the bed, is her mother-in-law next to her son. And we're just like, what?
Is that real? Is that real?
It's real story? Like completely, like, I know the people, like 100%. And I'm just like, that's really weird. And it's not like, and she's not the person to be like, what are you doing in my bed? Like, she didn't get confrontation.
What are you doing in my bed?
Yeah. But she didn't get confrontation about it. But she's like, this cannot be normal. And that's a good example of, like you're saying, where parents aren't letting go. And that's probably the reason why a lot of people move out and do their own thing.
I mean, it's not because the mother-in-law was sleeping in the bed. It was other things.
No, to be fair, she didn't stay, but it was still weird. Like, they've had dinner, they've gone to the room, this is their time, whatever, just to chill out, whatever. And she's just there, like, chilling, involved. That's just weird.
My point is another different take on this, which is being spoon-fed like a child is easy for someone to say when you're critically analysing the relationship between a mum and a son.
Specifically that relationship you're talking about?
Specifically that relationship, yeah? So over time, you might see it as that. But then if said partner, like the guy's wife, has a boy, yeah?
The guy's wife. Yeah, they have a boy.
They have a boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people.
Yeah.
And that boy's growing up over time.
Yep.
This happened to a friend of ours recently, and we saw them. And he said to her, are you going to let him grow up and do certain things? And she said, no, I don't think any woman's good enough for him. And he said, and that is how my mum feels about me. And that's how she acts around these kind of things. You're just perpetuating the same thing without realizing it because you haven't had that connection before. So it's kind of trying to show people breaking them out of those habits is one thing, but it's kind of accepted that it just is a thing that occurs. It's not right or wrong.
What occurs?
Where you have this overbearing connection to your mum and son or dad and daughter, right? Those connections are quite special and they're quite overprotective. Same way how a dad with their daughter, I'm sure eventually when Ekim's growing up, you might have this inclination to be like, I don't think any guy's right for her. But you're like, no, she has to go and make her own mistakes and go and meet people in the world.
Correct.
But your first instinct is, no, I want to protect her. And some people don't let go of that protective instinct over time, regardless of how old they get. That's my 2 cents on it.
It's very good. Very mature on that one.
Thank you, Budgie. Right, next segment.
What I will say to the older gen, our parents, right, is when you become a parent, there are certain levels that are unlocked where you're just like, my perspective is starting to change now because now I am the parent And there's a different unlocking. And now there's certain things I think about. I'm like, yeah, they had a point here.
For example?
So what we're talking about now, you're right, with prospective partners.
No, but you have an example of you and your dad recently where you sat with it and you said to him, you turned to him and said, I get why you acted the way you did in certain situations growing up. And he was really taken aback.
You were in Cambridge. It was in a museum. I was sitting there with Ikram, my dad was there, and I just had do you know when something strikes you in the head?
Yeah.
And because I'm a dad now, and there's no playbook for this, even though you get a lot of advice from everyone, you can read stuff, and there's TikTok telling you how to be a parent and all this stuff. It was like you still just do the best you can.
Yeah.
And that was what I realized in that moment. I was like, Dad, you operated with me and my sister Meher based on what you had. Like, you lost your father at 25, you're navigating that. Like, there's all these levels
that you don't appreciate as a kid.
That you don't appreciate as a kid. And now I'm looking at it, and I'm like, you did the best with what you had. And like, mate, like, Dad, like, we're fine. Like, I'd say we're really normal kids. And so I just had a really big moment of appreciation that, it's very easy for us to look at that and why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do this? Because
how did he feel hearing that?
He was just like, you did this, he was like, now you get it. And he goes, you'll continue to get it.
Yeah.
Like another moment I had with Dad recently was, I remember very early on when I tried to tell Dad I like this goodie, and we were on this walk. I think we walked to the Gurdwara, actually. Yeah, I remember the walk. Yeah, well, that's not really here or there, but that's where we're going.
Yeah, that's not relevant at all.
It's not relevant, but I remember where we were going, and I was trying to tell him, and I think in the moment he got really angry. Okay, and he just completely shut it down. And then for a long time, the resentment was, well, I tried to come to you, and you didn't want to know. That was the thinking. And then at this point, I was like, do you know what? I think I know what you wanted to say. So what you wanted to say was, okay, don't let this distract you. You need to do well. It didn't come out like that, though. So I think your intention was there, but you didn't know how to articulate, and you didn't know how to handle that because you not had to have that situation before. But I now appreciate it because your sentiment was not to be like, you weren't trying to be aggressive or rude or trying to shut me down. You just didn't have the way of articulating it in that moment. But again, only over time. So I think things do change when you become a parent. You just do start thinking about other things. And I've talked to you before about the whole my view on the caste stuff has changed as well. It's not that I agree that caste are right, but I do understand when people are saying certain groups of people, whether it be by caste or by profession, do operate in certain ways. And sometimes what you're looking for is similarity. You're basically looking for people that share your values. That's what you want, right? But you attribute it to caste and profession and all this other stuff. But really, it's just that. And if it is, you're coming from that angle, I can understand that perspective. Because you do marry families, and we know that when certain things don't align, you do have problems down the line. So it's a parenting thing, man. It changes you.
It does.
Yeah.
I've got it all to come in the future. Did your elders frequently ask you, when are you getting married? And do you now ask this same question to your unmarried friends or younger generation? I felt guilty of this the other week.
Go on.
I actually said to one of my mates, so like, are you going to get married?
Go on.
And he said, is it to you? And I said, oh yeah, actually, it's a good point.
I'm sorry.
I should have said, like, how's dating going? Like, how are you finding it?
Right. So, the point Sanjay and I were exploring about this, it was about intention. So the classic auntie who's asking, she's not asking because she cares. She's asking because she wants to know the gossip, and she's just intrusive, right? Whereas you can come from a place of concern when you're asking a friend. But you're right. You don't want to. You want to catch yourself, and so it doesn't come across as
mean.
Like, going to get the
what's the word? Intruding.
Yeah. But from a place of concern, or just checking in. I think that's a fair point. But sadly, people do still get that arbitrary. You're this old. Why haven't you done it? It's like, what's it to you?
If they tell me, oh, it's difficult, or this and the other, they're like, it's fine, and they shut it down. I'm like, that's cool. I asked you.
But do you just not ask the question, how are things, or do you specifically ask? Why do you ask about how things dating was? Why do you ask dating?
Because some people who are single and they're like, I'm struggling to meet someone, or they to me,
you've got prior knowledge of that.
That's me.
Okay.
Right, and I'll see them. I'll be like, oh, how's dating going?
So it's a follow up. That's okay. There's prior knowledge of that.
Follow up a year later in examples. Like, it's not a follow up like
great follow up indeed. A year later. Just checking in.
We're looking to meet someone like.
But
you can ask like less intruding questions.
Yeah. I think intention's important, and yes, the way you frame questions is important.
Nicer way. All right, so let's give the auntie a nicer way of saying. Have you?
Listen. They're beyond liberation, man.
Beyond liberation.
Beyond liberation. When you see the auntie coming to you and you know she wants to ask you, you just shut it down, man. But it's a paid. I'm paid fee. Yeah. You give me paise do, and then I'll tell you secrets. So they're just. Yeah, I don't know what Harun told us something to say, isn't it? He told us there was a way of giving.
Pardon said it, yeah.
But there's a way of giving a jawab to an auntie, which is like, how's your drugged up son in it?
Oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah, saying like it's the auntie who has all the problems in the world. Son's divorced,
3 divorces,
daughter's divorced, right? She's divorced herself. We're just so keen in knowing about your life and how it's going, and it's like, why don't you sort your own shit out first?
Yeah.
Very fair point.
I think. No, not being funny now. I think a genuine thing, and this is something you do in general with to handle confrontation. But if somebody auntie asks and it's coming from a bad place, just ask a question back. Why are you asking?
Oh, no,
No, do you? Why are you concerned about it? No.
And they sit there smiling.
Well, auntie, when there's something to tell you, I'll let you know, and you make it funny. You just walk away from the situation, but ask them a question. So because you're putting them on check, then they know, because you're showing them, I know what you're doing, but you're disarming them with just a very soft question. But they know next time not to ask you. You know what happened then? They'll ask someone else.
Yeah.
They want gossip. They want that juggly, and they're going to come around now. But Jalo, if they're not coming to you,
don't ask your sibling. That's the way you have to have that pre-briefing before this auntie approaches you. Do not tell them anything. That was
that's interesting when you go into parties or situations when you do a briefing.
Yeah, you have to do a
tactical briefing. Like on Air Force One when you have like files and everyone. This person comes to you. Don't talk about this. This. Yeah.
Who's at the event? Look at all the invites. Okay, we've got this person. Okay, that one can't sit near that person. I need to be careful telling them that because they'll feed that to them. That's going to get back to mum. Like, yeah.
And then the debrief.
That's why you keep the answers very plain. How are things? Fine.
No. You know the standard. Then this is actually really good advice which I was given, which is because sometimes people will give you artificial bump and praises or you're killing it, you're doing so well, right? And a lot of people say, well, you got to be careful because people are trying to put nazar on you and bad intentions. And so the jawab always is Maharaji Kirpa. That's it. Kirpa. That's it. You just come from a humble place, humble flex, and you're just like
the light hack we all needed, the phrase we all needed.
Maharaji Kirpa. That's it.
And no one can say anything to that.
Yeah. And in the same way, when they ask, why have you met someone? Jado Kirpa hogi. That's it.
Bang.
The only person to neutralize and disarm me
is God.
No, is my nanny. I told you. I don't know if Sandeep knows this. This is funny. So I've had that conversation with Dad pre-baby, Nanny, super spiritual, and just catching up with Nanny, and she's like, children, family way. What they use this phrase, family way, right? Which is like basically saying, but I'm not going. So I was like, you know what? Nanny, spiritual, give a spiritual answer. I was like, Nanny, jada kirpa honi hai, ho yani hai. What can you say to them?
So you aced it. That's it. Nanny can't say anything.
He goes, but ye to kuch karna hi nahi. Kirpa kitton honi hai. Oh, sorry, what? Game over. She's gamed the level, man. She's like Super Saiyan 4, man. I was like, oh my God. Kamehameha me. I was out, man. I was like, how's Nanny? Okay. I went back into my shell, man.
Listen, she's grown up. She's grown up and seen things in life.
But it's only
things in life. She's like, God isn't going to sort that out, mate. Yeah.
Well, it's the idea where God sends the boat in it. I don't want the boat. God will come in it. It's like, well, you got to put some effort in it. So I
think that's the same thing with some of the aunties as well, because we've kind of had the same sort of thing. And you say when it happens or when the time's right as well. But you think that will be the end of the conversation. No, you've got to make the effort. Join the apps or join this or find the Buddha list or whatever.
They're evolving as well, man. These aunties are evolving.
Every auntie wants to play matchmaker, but never wants to hold the consequences when it falls apart. That's the difference. You want to sit there and say, I've got this perfect person for you. You got them together, you're like, John, it's done now. I've done my job.
They want team
match them. It's like, hang on.
They want their referral fee. And that's
yeah, they're a good match. Yeah.
It's not on them. They just want to fix.
Absolutely. Did you grow up in a house where affection was shown? Yes and no.
Start the definition of affection, right? Good.
No, it's not a definition of affection. It's
the question is asking, did we see PDA?
No. That's a very different question.
But that is kind of what the question is trying to ask.
I've probably seen my mum and dad hold hands once. I've seen them give each other side hugs when they see each other. There's no forward hugs, it's always side hugs.
What was the hand-holding situation?
I think it was when they were helping each other up the stairs or something.
Okay.
right?
So in your mind, you're like, is that really hand
That
holding?
counts.
Is that you're like, it's functional hand hold?
I will take it. Yeah. Yeah. But I've seen affection from my mum towards me, my brother, my sister, my nieces, my nephews. I've seen that kind of affection where it's like she has it in her, but she's never showed it between parents. There was one time I caught my mum giving my dad a kiss on the cheek, and I was like, I'm 29. I've never seen this before.
All right.
I was like, oh my God.
But real question.
Real question, what? How do you think I got here?
No. I know you're very good at biology, right? That wasn't the question. The question was, we all, a lot of us, our gen, will talk about, oh, you didn't do this growing up, right? Like we didn't see the parents showing this type of PDA type of affection. But what's our reaction when we start seeing it? What are you doing?
Always because we never saw it.
Right? No. So we complain about it that we should see it. And then when they show it to us, we're like, oh, you doing?
Yeah, because we're given the childish reaction the kids would have had.
Yeah. But then you think about the opposite reaction. It's like, yeah, good. Hold kare. Okay. So you kiss on the cheek. Okay. How did it make you feel?
Huh?
How does that make you feel?
I was like, whoa, I've never seen that before. Wow. I was like, okay. And it was because my dad was he was struggling from recovery from a knee operation. He was really down. Right. And my mum put her arm around him and she gave him a kiss on the cheek. I saw it through like the window and I was like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. What do you think? What's the taboo there then? So
I think my mum knows how to show love, but my dad doesn't know how to show it himself. And my mum is like, he's quite sheltered and he doesn't know how to sort of access that.
True.
Or he's not able to sort of pull that out and bring it to the surface.
Do you think that's
because he's never seen it himself from like my
Baba,
Bibi and Baba. Right.
And but okay, so for that whole gen, do you think it's the same reason? It's because they've never seen it, so it's come down?
I don't think that's the only reason.
So what do you think there's a reason?
People are overtly more loving and outwards.
So okay, and some are a bit more introverted, fine.
Yeah.
And so then why our gen is more blasé, okay with PDA, would you say?
Our gen, I think we've grown up with it more on TV, in pop culture, right? But I still get uncomfortable whenever the scene comes on TV and I'm like, 32 years old, I can sit here and watch this with mum.
I was going to say with you.
And even dad would be like, I'm like, Dad, we're all grown up to. And I just leave it and let it play.
You're still awkward though, aren't you?
Yeah, it's still awkward, but I'm sitting in the awkwardness now.
This style is fantastic.
That's it. Great scene.
Yeah. Aake shouldn't even come.
Yeah, and that's important.
Yeah, for her to see that, we love each other.
But I think we're also in that there's sub-generations within a generation.
Correct.
There's millennials.
Correct.
But there's early and late millennials.
Yeah.
We're late.
Yeah.
Because we're late millennials, it's okay for us to do that. I think the early millennials, like my siblings.
Yeah. They're not quite your father.
I've never
yeah.
my sister and Jija do a PDA. Okay. I've seen them hold hands, but I've never seen them do like a kiss of some sort.
Okay.
And I think they themselves probably would feel awkward doing that. Because they're the eldest of their time. Yeah.
And so to summarize this whole thing, I'd say there clearly is affection at all generations. The way we show the affection has changed. And one thing I probably will say if we just look at PDA is early on in a relationship, even in our gen specifically, I think PDA might rank a lot higher. But the longer you stay together, I think it decreases.
Maybe.
Not that love decreases. I think the PDA decreases. That's been my experience.
So the A doesn't.
The
A part of it, the affection doesn't decrease, but the publicity side of it does.
Oh no, I think the way has changed. That's all.
Do you still hold hands with Shindy?
I think we hug a lot more than holding her. We play more silly games. I try and scare her now. I try and hug her when she doesn't know I'm going to hug her. It's more stuff like that.
But you do. Yeah.
The answer is yes, but we do it in more funny ways now.
Good. Is it right to wear at the start for your Anand cottage, but not day to day? Should grooms learn how to tie their own dastard on their wedding day, even if they don't do it regularly? I personally think
it's a huge shock, isn't it?
That we are keeping, we being Banda who don't tie brogs very often and want it in a certain way, we are funding a business part of the wedding side, which is actually thriving, which is brog tying services.
Yes.
So I feel like we're helping them out a little bit by not learning how to do it properly.
And so
if you have a certain style bug you want tied,
I'll be saying it's a good thing.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying we're keeping it going. I'm being facetious here.
Fine.
On a serious topic,
note,
I do think it probably is something that's worth exploring if you want to wear a bug day to day, or if you want to wear it on your Anand Karaj. A lot of people do treat it as though it is just a wedding day thing.
But let's break it up, because we were talking about this. Say you're not a natural Singh. By that I mean you have cut hair. Okay. Is then what we're suggesting that you don't have the right to wear the Dastaar because you're not going to wear it regularly. So then what would be expected for you on your Anand Karaj to come in the Ramal?
I think the next inclination is don't have an Anand Karaj if you don't wear a bug.
No, that's the point, yeah.
But that's the next iteration of
the prescribed code, as it were, in terms of, because we had the whole thing that we discussed about from the lady perspective, what you should be wearing, and you should be respectful. And I think from the male perspective, it's the standard uniform, if you want to say, for the Anand Karaj is you must be present with the Dastaar. So I don't think personally I'd be an advocate for if you're a Monna, then you shouldn't have the Dastaar because you're only going to have for one day, and therefore you shouldn't have Anand Karaj. I think that
you never know if somebody does actually wear a bug on that day, or not wear. I should stop wearing a bug. If they tie it at the start on that day, it might change their life, or they might have like a different perception towards it. But like, actually, this is different to what I expected it to be.
Yeah, that's fair.
It might have a life-changing moment. I know that's a bit of a wild.
On the other side, we saw the video that Jen...
Yeah, that guy took it off and threw it. Yeah.
And then obviously the backlash, and then maybe that's why people are making a point, well, you don't respect it because you don't understand what the Dastaar represents because you're only going to be having it for a few hours. And then the question again, should you be and shouldn't you be? Now, coming from the time perspective, now see, I have a personal point here. So during my wedding, I had it professionally tied because although I can tie it, I didn't want the stress with everything else of tying it the way I would tie it. Yeah, on that day.
So you kept that guy's business going. There you go. See, you're helping people out.
But you see what I mean? So even though I have the ability to tie, I chose not to tie in certain circumstances where I think actually there's so many other things I need to do. It's better if I outsource that. In the same way I'd say ladies have makeup artists. They can do the makeup, right? But
makeup and a bug isn't the same thing.
How so?
They're not the same thing as
well. No, obviously not the same, but what's your point you're trying to make? Which one's harder? What are you trying to say?
I'm not saying anything's harder. I'm saying if you compare that to the Anand Karaj wedding day, somebody could get married without makeup very easily. So bug is...
Yeah. I'm not talking about Anand Karaj. I'm just talking about in general.
Okay, fine.
It's not Anand Karaj.
The question is referring to an Anand Karaj. So...
telling back in the days, you would have enough people in the family who knew how to do it, that you could just do it within the family. But there's less and less people now who know. That's why these services are coming up.
There isn't. There's also styles of buggar that have been tied that don't look good. So my Jija, he won't mind me saying this, he does not like his wedding day pictures because his bug was massive on him. But it was tied by his mama, who tied it to his head size, not my Jija's head size. And he said, I don't like how I looked with the bug on that day. He said it's a very important moment, but it doesn't resonate with me as much because I didn't have a good experience.
And there's two things here. The ability to tie your own bug. So, for example, I can tie a bug, right? Or you can tie your bug. That does not translate into you can therefore tie another person. That's a whole different skill set.
It's very difficult.
Very different skill set. So that's the first thing. Second thing about people...
To give an argument's sake,
go.
So there's some guys who tie a Kenyan bug.
Yeah.
For me, I can do a single Lara Kenyan bug.
Yeah.
And it works for me.
Yeah.
There's some guys who do a double layer and they do it twice over to make it thicker, to make the Lara bigger and wider because they have a bigger head.
Yeah.
So that's an adjustment you have to make that I wouldn't know how to do at all. But I tie a Kenyan bug. So it's very different and it's all situational depending on who is having the bug, who is wearing the bug. Not wearing the bug. Damn, I should stop saying
tying.
Who is tying the bug?
In general, less people are tying the Dastaar or knowing how to do it. I have seen a little bit of a resurgence in terms of classing things popping up now. And
there are TikToks, and you can learn ways on TikToks as to why YouTube, etc.
The thing with TikToks are they make it look so easy.
Yeah, they do.
Like
that's why TikTok. Watch the long form Just Ray video on how to tie a bug. Okay, that video is goated. All right, that's a very good video.
Yeah. Because it does take, but the thing is, it's the same with anything. It takes time and practice to perfect it or get it to the point where you want to get it.
Yeah.
Then it's a whole discussion about, well, should your bug be perfect? Is that the right thing? You're trying to symbolize, this is a thing of spirituality, but then you're trying to make it shosha because you're trying to make it really clean. That's a whole discussion point there. Why do I wear it? Why should I wear it? What does it represent? Does it fit with my day to day? Like you know me, right? I do wear the Dastaar, but for me, because I wear it less frequently, the time it takes for me to tie it is longer. And so with my day-to-day, it doesn't fit. But the steps that I want to take to kind of hybrid that, let's say, is I want to go to a small gold bug for my kind of day-to-day. And then my Patiala Shahi is kind of like my formal event bug at the start. Is kind of the way I'm thinking about it.
Because those that kind of police the type of bug you wear, depending on the situation, is a bit silly. Because then if you're going to do that, then everyone should only wear one kind of bug in one style and that's it. That shouldn't happen. You should just, a bug should be acceptable enough in its own format of how people are wearing it. Yeah. I know that there's some significance of people thinking if you wear a Nahang style bug, or I'm calling it that because people know it as that, but the correct word is a Damalla. If you're wearing it as that, you're perceived to be a Nahang or somebody who is very spiritual or very religious. Okay. Or you could just enjoy that style for you and your look. That's acceptable. That's okay. Then people need to stop policing that a little bit and just let that be. How do you, as men, manage the wife and mother-in-law dynamic?
So thankfully, I've not had to do a lot of management. That's the first thing I would say, because my advice has always been that if you guys want to talk to each other, you talk to each other directly, and there's no mediation service from me. Because I feel as the son, the husband, and sometimes if you have a sister, the brother, these are all very different relationships. And you don't want it to feel like there's competition between relationships. They all have different energies and you have to maintain them all in different ways. That being said, I think the reason why it works for us is that there is respect and space. And the expectations from all of us is very clear. And if there's something is missing the mark or whatever, then it's like, okay, could you do this or whatever. Even from let's say from a bills perspective, like we'll always check in at least twice a year and see where things are, things matching up. Are we all parties contributing to that? Where can we change it or adjust it? So we're quite transparent and open with that. So those are things I'd say are important. It's, as a man, I think you should encourage your mother and wife to have the confidence to speak to them directly, not go through you, because then their relationship gets stronger. Even if there may be awkward moments and tiffs, I think over time it strengthens the relationship, because then you get away from the idea that it's a mother-in-law or daughter-in-law. It becomes more like a mother-daughter. It becomes closer to that. That's what I'd say.
You're telling me there's been, in the 7 years you've been married, there's never been
falling out?
Or like a falling out at all?
No, like really small.
That's very rare.
But because, like I said, I think we all four of us in that house live busy lives. Which means when
even in COVID, when everyone was at home?
No, COVID was really fun. What? In the sense, let me expand on that point.
Thank you.
That sounds wrong. That sounds wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Shindy was furloughed, so Shindy had a passion for cooking at that point. Me and Mum were key workers. I think maybe Dad at that point, so we were all going out. Meher was at home as well. This is before she got married. We did a lot of tapas nights, went for lots of walks together. It was just a good time. I think it works because we all respect each other's space, but we have the ability to voice opinions when they need to be voiced.
Yeah.
But having this channel set up, I think, are important.
Okay. For me, I live away from my mum and dad.
Yeah.
They're in Birmingham, I'm in London. I think I don't have that much of an issue with it.
Okay.
But there is a acclimatization period where your wife and your mum are trying to get to know each other a bit better. So when you're in each other's space, how do you kind of understand how the other person wants it to be like? So I kind of alluded to it earlier with the whole cooking thing. But when my mum's at ours in London, we have said to mum a few times now, you need to sit down and not help because this is our space. And we're here to look after you guys.
Yeah.
Because you've come here, you've taken the journey to come here. We'll make the food and make sure everything's okay for you.
Yeah.
But we also have to respect that mum wants that on her side in Birmingham. So we're just trying to ask for the same thing for us. Now, my mum is quite not bad at miscommunicating, but she sometimes doesn't think before she speaks. So she'll be quite blunt. And when she's quite blunt, it comes across as quite rude.
No, but you're saying she's intentionally,
no,
consciously
I'm saying
blunt?
She isn't intentionally being rude.
Yeah.
But then I have to try and show my mum, look, that's actually quite hurtful when you say something in that way. And she says, oh, I didn't mean it in that way, or it's come out wrong. She's now having to kind of learn over time how to acclimatize to what she's saying and doing.
Mm.
and letting those things be and being different with the conversations that she has.
You happen to live in London, right? But imagine Sanj.
Imagine if I lived at home.
Yeah, because Sanj had a job in Birmingham. Like, I'm not saying she's from here, but so imagine you had my situation.
I wouldn't live at home. Because I know my mum and dad's way of living is not healthy for another person to live in. It's not. They have very difficult ways of living their life. Like, they have a lot of clutter, have a lot of hoarding. It's just not healthy.
I love that. That's your first thing.
Mentally, you walk in and you start getting agitation.
Anxiety.
Like,
You're getting
there's a lot of stuff out that's not needed to be out.
Right.
And what's really interesting is when one of them's away out of the house, the house is actually quite clean. So I thought it was always my dad.
So then,
But it's not. It's both of them perpetuating each other.
so when they get together, the other one puts the stuff back out.
No, it's not that. It's just my dad wants things in certain places and my mum doesn't want things out at all.
Yeah.
So when dad's not there, she puts everything away and it's clean.
Yeah.
When he's back, he starts leaving one or two things lying around and you've got things everywhere. But then when mum's not there, he's actually quite tidy. So it's like, okay, this is interesting. Who's actually the real perpetrator?
So follow-up question though. So fine, you're not living together and you're living as you are. If you're a couple that's married and you live away, the daughter-in-law, mother-in-law relationship, how does Sanj maintain that relationship outside of when they physically meet each other?
I think there's phone calls. I think there's giving my mum the time of day to speak to you when she's available.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them, I'm quite lucky that both of them live very busy lives, career-wise. So they probably don't have much inclination to need to speak to each other frequently.
Yeah. So why did you say you're very lucky?
Because sometimes if you're going through that break-in process very early on, there's likely more agitation happening there early.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's happened slowly, it's easier to get through like a couple bumps than 24 bumps in like 24 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, because then that starts amplifying more and more and more and more. So it's better to have things like at a smoother, slower rate.
Mm.
A friend of mine is smart, tall, Sikh, cultured, but can't find a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Guys are saying she's too dark.
Colour is the same as caste, clearly. The new caste. It's the new casteism.
The new cast is colour. Orange is
Just-
the new black.
Orange is the new black.
Mm.
It's sad. And before I saw that question, it wouldn't even come up on my radar as like a thought. But that somebody's been discriminated based on that.
I think it's more common than you think.
Okay.
Because for some reason, whiter skin is cherished in brown circles. It's seen as like a thing. So skin whitening treatments.
Fair and lovely.
Those adverts are really, really popular in India.
But no, well, they've had to be removed now because they want to get away from that. But it was,
they were.
the Fair and Lovely thing.
And people have endorsed it. What is the Fair and Lovely thing?
Oh, it's the cream used to mala to make
Right.
yourself light.
Right. It's basically bleaching your skin.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So that's not cool. And just letting people be the colour that they are is okay. Because already you have stipulations applied on you for people that you want to meet.
Yeah.
You really want to go to the tinge of their skin to really match that? That's extreme. And then there's some people like myself. I've got eczema. So I was born with really light skin as a kid. If you look at my feet,
I've seen your baby pictures.
yeah, and if you look at my feet, they're really light, but my face is darker over time because of the amount of eczema I've had on my skin.
Yeah.
Now, am I classified as somebody who is suffering from colorism? No, because I was quite fair, so my skin has come darker, so I look more brown. But if I was the color I was now when I was born, I'd be very dark, and then I'd be seen as like, oh, what's going on there? So you have to kind of think of these things over time.
But all right, tell me one thing. Where's the line between I have a preference, in the same way I might have a preference for Mexican curry, because I like Mexican curry, versus say a Japanese curry. That's me. Is that the same as me discriminating? If I
know. The thing is, I see the word.
I'm not
I see
attracted.
the word preference as a get out of jail free card sometimes.
No, but how can you tell me what I'm attracted to?
I can't.
Yeah,
But when people cite preference,
yeah.
it sounds like
So take
It's-
whatever
yeah,
whatever word you want to use. But if I said to you, I'm not attracted to darker skinned, is that wrong? If I'm not attracted,
well, that's why shows like Love Is Blind appear exist.
but answer that question. Is that wrong?
I don't know because attraction is subjective, depending on each person. However,
In the
if
same,
your type of person is always the one that looks Instagram perfect, Your preference has been molded by society in the wrong way.
That's true. But I think it's also similar to, like Sandeep's had some stuff in the app where people have asked for this filter, non-Dastaars, or like clean shave.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas from a female perspective, like I have cousins who've clearly not married Singhs. But if you're not attracted, is there anything wrong with that? Is it okay to not be attracted to a turban wearing Sikh?
I don't know.
Well, no, I think it is okay. If that's not your preference, well, no, we're not going to use your preference.
Hey.
We're not going to use preference. But whatever that thing is, like you said, it is very subjective.
Whatever that feeling is different.
But the other side who's happening too will feel like this is very intentional.
Other big time.
Yeah.
And to feel other by your own people is tough. Like we get it all the time. And it's good. It's tough to handle when you see pushback towards you from your own people for stuff that you've kind of not said badly, but you've just expressed a nuanced point and it's like, no, it's this. And that's not the right way to live life. So it's sad to see that, and I can't imagine what that's like. And it's very tough. Plus, over time, if that keeps perpetuating and happening, people are going to think that person's broken when they've not done anything. So if they're still single at 36, a lot of people think they're broken. Why aren't they with someone?
There's a reason.
And what's the reason? The reason probably isn't because of them. It could be because everyone's perceives them to be this skin color, and that's not healthy at all. So yeah,
it's difficult.
Very difficult. People, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Drop us a message afterwards. And thank you to Sikhing for having us.
Do you want to see part 3? We've been trying to get the wags here, but even if it's not our wags, Sandeep could find other ladies and we could have conversation, and we could have a 4-way conversation with ladies, different perspectives, live perspectives, right? Because obviously we come here, we talk about male perspectives, but if you want to see it, let us know.
And drop us a follow, Indy and Dr, INDY&Dr. I've never got that wrong before. It was the first time for every year. We will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you and goodbye.